Kia ora, good evening and welcome to Central News for Monday the 22nd of September. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. New Zealand voted loud and clear on Saturday in the general election. With a 77% voting turnout, John Key and National have been returned to government, winning 48% of the vote on election night. Labour came up short, polling just 24.7%, and the Greens also came up short of their expectations, securing just 10%. New Zealand First polled 9%, with ACT and United Future securing 1 seat each, and the Māori Party winning 2 seats. Although there are some special votes still to be counted, National on its current numbers could govern alone. Hamilton remained true blue on election night, with both incumbents cruising to victory. In Hamilton East, David Bennett won a 4th term, beating out Labour's Cliff Allen with a massive majority of nearly 9,000. In doing so, he became the first person ever to win the seat 4 times. Meanwhile, Tim McIndoe won Hamilton West for the 3rd time, sweeping past Sue Moroney by more than 5,400 votes. With the exception of Labour's Nanaia Mahuta, who took Hauraki Waikato, all other Greater Waikato seats went to National. National candidates in Waikato, Coromandel, Taupo and Taranaki King Country all won their seats comfortably. The Bay of Plenty region can lay claim to 2 new MPs, taking its total to 3 following Saturday's 2014 election results. Incumbent Tauranga MP Simon Bridges is back for his third term, claiming 18,967 votes, followed by New Zealand First candidate Clayton Mitchell's 5,441. Joining Simon in Parliament from the National Party is Todd Muller, replacing Tony Ryle in the Bay of Plenty seat. With New Zealand First surpassing the 5% threshold, reaching 11 seats, New Zealand First Tauranga candidate Clayton Mitchell is in too, ranking 6th on the party list. Taking a look at the marine forecast now, there's a gale warning in force for Raglan, a southwest of 40 knots easing to a southerly of 25 knots this evening. Sea will be very rough for a time, with the southwest swell rising to 5 metres for a time. Poor visibility in showers. High tide 29 minutes to 10 tomorrow morning. To the Bay of Plenty, there's a gale warning in force with a southwest of 40 knots, sea becoming very rough. A northwest swell of 1 metre easing with poor visibility and showers. Southwest easing Tuesday morning to 25 knots. High tide 6:22 tomorrow morning. Coming up, we speak to the author of a book inspired by the wildlife affected by the Rena wreck, find out about the New Zealand Garden and Art Festival, and the call has gone out for volunteers for a community patrol. That's still to come on Central News. Welcome back to Central News. Sunday, the 5th of October, will mark 3 years since the container ship Rena MV struck the Astrolabe Reef, causing the biggest environmental disaster in New Zealand history. Many of us will remember the footage of thick black oil washing onto Bay of Plenty shores. But a memory that remains for many locals was the multitude of seabirds that were covered in oil sludge and the community that came together to save those that could be. To mark the anniversary, a local author is launching her children's book, Motiti Blue, the story of the Rena told from a little blue penguin's point of view. Debbie, you've written a book, Motiti Blue. Can you tell me a little bit about where you're up to with the publishing of this book?
Well, it's overseas at the moment at the printers, and hopefully hopping on a boat pretty soon and arriving in New Zealand early next month.
Bit of irony there that it's going to be shipped to New Zealand when the book is about the Rena disaster.
I've got my fingers crossed that it doesn't happen to the ship with the book's on.
So let's talk about the book, Motiti Blue. It's not about a ship, but it is about the Rena wreck and how it's affected the blue penguins, in particular one little blue penguin. Motiti Blue. He's very cute.
He is very cute. He lives on Motiti Island and gets caught up in the oil spill and rescued, taken to Tamanga Bird Hospital, and he recovers there, and eventually, once his environment's cleaned up and he's all better, he's released back into the wild.
So there's a happy ending.
There's a happy ending to this one, which is needed in a children's book.
Was there a happy ending for all the birds in real life?
They estimate about 20,000 birds died, so it's incredibly sad.
Why did you want to write a book, a children's book in particular, on the Rena wreck?
Well, it's a really important story for children learning about environmental disasters and what's happened in their backyard, and hopefully that will move them towards taking steps that it won't happen again.
Does it focus on the actual accident, or is it more about the penguin?
It's more focused on the penguin and his recovery. There's fact boxes throughout which help add to the story. Boys especially love fact boxes, so it's really good.
What age group is it targeted towards?
I think it's quite a wide range group with the fact boxes and extras from about 5 to 12, I'd say.
Is it a challenge to write in a way that children are going to comprehend the facts and the story? Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to keep it really simple. As a children's librarian, I know we need more books that we can read aloud, especially during class visits. So I try and keep the read aloud part down to, 2 to 3 minutes. But for children taking it home with them, we want the extras in there, like the fact boxes and the timelines and the graphics as well, so they can learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about the photos used within the book. They're stunning images.
They are. I was really lucky with the photos. Maritime New Zealand came on board. I contacted them and they gave me permission. I could use any of their photos. Plus people in the community. I work with people who are helping with rescue the wildlife and clean up. So they gave me their photos as well.
What's your memory of the time?
Just heartbreaking. Just affected the whole community, really devastating. And the disbelief, I think, that this could happen in Tauranga is, yeah.
And it's still ongoing.
It is, it hasn't stopped yet. Yeah, there's a lot of rubbish out there that needs to be cleaned away.
Now, the book also has the text with Te Reo Māori underneath the English, which is quite beautiful. They sort of sit side by side perfectly together. Why was it important for you to have the two languages there?
Well, Te Reo Māori is the official language of New Zealand, and I think it's really important that it's included, especially in children's books. It tells a whole story rather than just the part in English. I feel it encompasses the whole community. Tamati Waka's done a gorgeous translation, so it's really good too.
That's fantastic. And the cover of the book is quite stunning. Tell me about that.
It's done by a local artist called Elliot Mason. It's just amazing. It wasn't done for the book. Elliot helped with rescuing wildlife from Moel and Motiti Island, which is really special, and that inspired a lot of his artwork. And when I saw that little blue penguin picture, I just knew it was the cover. I fell in love with it.
Now, when you talk about the 2 islands that were affected, are the wildlife on those islands okay now? Are there ongoing issues? What's happening that we don't know about?
They're recovering slowly, I'd say. There is a wildlife open day planned for the 3rd anniversary of the Rena disaster on the 5th of October.
I was going to say that's coming up pretty soon, isn't it?
The same date as my book launched too. So they'll be talking to the public and giving them wildlife tours and explaining what's going on now. There's ongoing problems, things like feral cats, and it's a bit of an issue.
You're self-published. How's that process been? Talk me through it. How does somebody self-publish?
It's quite stressful, really. It's not just writing a book and then putting it in a publisher's hands. It's you're in control of everything, which I quite like, actually. But the editing process, everything is your responsibility. Luckily, I've got an awesome book designer, Sarah Elworthy, who's really good to bounce ideas off. And there's hundreds of edits that go into a book. So, and then after the book's produced and in the country, you've still got your marketing, you've still got to sell it.
And self-editing is quite hard too.
Yeah, I have a couple of people who've read the book over, which is great, and they've come back with ideas. The community spirit around the book's been brilliant.
Yeah. What is the feedback so far? I know it's just in that draft form, it's just gone to the printers, but what feedback are you getting?
Really positive. People want the story told as well, and this is one of our local stories, which I think is really important, especially for children. I think if they read about their own stories, it gives them more meaning.
They need to own it, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you think there's more stories out there that need to be told?
Oh, there's hundreds of stories.
We look forward to your next book then.
Thank you.
The launch of the book is on Sunday, October the 5th at Moao Area Wildlife Trust Open Day. Still to come, the eyes on your community need a helping hand. That's coming up next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. 12 members is not quite enough to see the newly formed Bethlehem Community Patrol through the summer, and they're asking for more volunteers and donations to help with petrol for the patrol vehicle. Hilary spoke with one of the founding members of the Community Patrols of New Zealand and a founding member of the Bethlehem Patrol.
David, can you tell me about the Bethlehem Community Patrol that you guys have set up?
Okay, so the Community Patrol covers 4 areas: Bethlehem, Brookfield, Otamotai and Matua. We've just established that. We have a committee, a foundation committee, and we now have around about 20 members, and we're desperately seeking new members.
You are struggling with operating expenses. What are you guys in need of for this patrol to be successful?
The 2 outstanding things that we require: one are volunteers, and the second is funding. Volunteers to enable us to get out and about, that'd be the eyes and the ears. The funding is to cover the expenses that we're doing, that we accumulate. Running of the vehicle, the maintenance of the vehicle. All of those things we need to deal with, and we're struggling to get the support that we need.
Bethlehem will probably be covering between 70 and to 100 kilometres at night when they're out on patrol, so that's a reasonably large mileage. It still has to be paid for, petrol and the maintenance on the vehicle. They're very fortunate that they have got a Trustpower vehicle that has been lent to them, so we don't have to worry about that. But of course insurance and maintenance and petrol is all a major.
Shirley, can you run us through a typical night on Community Patrol?
Community Patrol, when they go out, they start off, these people are starting off from here. The vehicle is based at the Tauranga Police Station. They will pick up the vehicle, they will pick up the police radio that they take with them, and at the same time we'll get up-to-date information from the police as to what's happening around the area, and they're guided by what they are given by the police as to what areas of town they will specifically cover. They don't cover every street every night. It's just simply covering the areas that are of problems at the time. Go out, patrol around those areas, perhaps a couple of 3 times around the ones that are problem areas, cover the rest if they can, if time allows. If there's anything happening with the police, they will hear that on the radio and then they can follow with the police. There's been times when they've actually been asked to look after the police cars while the police are busy doing something else. Times when they've been asked to look after impounds and this type of thing. So they're there as a backup for the police if the police need support.
Is there an element of prevention?
The fact that the vehicles are high profile and overt, if they're seen, the crims usually decide that it's not really worthwhile because they know that we have direct contact with the police.
Application forms to become a Community Patrol volunteer are available at Tauranga Police or can be downloaded from the Community Patrols New Zealand website, cpnz.org.nz. Earlier this month, it was revealed the Hauraki District Council had issued a resource consent without public notification for New Talisman Gold Mines to enter the mine in the Karangahaki Gorge and begin extracting samples of mineral ore. Ruby Powell from the Coromandel Watchdog spoke to Amanda about how she and her supporters are doing all they can to prevent a potential full-scale mining operation from occurring.
Ruby, why are you opposed to this?
I'm one of many people who are opposed to mining the Karangahaki Gorge because the social, the environmental and the economic impacts of mining will be devastating on the area. It's got a burgeoning tourism industry. Hundreds, thousands of people in fact flock to the gorge every year to enjoy the recreational opportunities it offers, and it would be devastating to see that destroyed for a bit of boom and bust mining activity.
But at the moment, this is only the exploratory activity.
Well, that's what they're calling it in some documents, but if you go through, there's 3 layers of permits that happen with a mining permit. So from New Zealand Petroleum and Minerals, they're actually operating under a full mining permit, and they've just applied to extend the mining permit to include the Rahu Ridge, in which they currently hold under an exploration permit. So this is a case of an expanding mining permit. Currently, with the Hauraki District Council, they only have permission to mine 20,000 cubic metres of ore a year, but that's still a considerable amount. 20,000 cubic metres of ore a year is enough to cover a football field 2.9 metres high. So if you think about that amount of earth coming out of the ground and that amount of work that's going to be done to get that out of there, that sounds like mining to me, and a lot of the locals and our wider support network also agree.
Okay, now a big issue as well that was highlighted was that you weren't told about this, the public weren't notified about New Talisman Group moving in.
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem. I mean, this operation as it stands to start now is already going to affect a wide number of people, the people that come and walk on the tracks, the other people that live along the road that the mining company needs to use. This is a really small rural road, it's gravel and at the end of it, and it's only 3 metres wide. So you imagine going for your dot walk up the beautiful Karangahaki Mountain and you see a couple of mining trucks tumbling past you with tons of ore in them, or you imagine living on that road and that noise of those 10 big trucks every day rolling up and down, that's 20 trips. And on top of that, you've got your light vehicles as well, you've got the inspectors, you've got the workers going up there and all the auxiliary works.
So the council is saying that there is only going to be minor effects in relation to the traffic and the environment. Is that true? Do you agree with that, or are you saying that it's not going to be minor?
I totally disagree with that, and a lot of people also disagree with that. There is lawyers looking into it at the moment who also disagree with it. The tangata whenua who were asked what they thought about the mine, and from reading the consultation process, apart from those who didn't reply, everyone said, no, we are in opposition to this mine. And when we talk to them, you know, this is a sacred mountain for many people. And actually, the area on the top of the mountain is a nationally significant area. It is protected. But we all know that what you do inside a mountain is going to affect what happens on the outside.
Tomorrow night on Central News, we'll hear from the Hauraki District Council on the Karangahaki Gorge mining issue. Up next, the sculptures amongst the flowers. We find out more on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. The official program is out for the New Zealand Garden and Art Festival. Running from the 17th to the 23rd of November, the Bay of Plenty event attracts many tourists to the region. The Sculpture Symposium was a new feature of the last festival, and Hillary found out it's on the move this year.
It is, and we're really excited because we bought in 2012, we brought it to the Tauranga waterfront, and we had 10 sculptors carving for 7 days. And they've now moved to Mount Juri, Mount Maunganui. We've got 16 artists from all over the country, as well as local artists as well, carving omaru and maritoto and wood, and they're there for 10 days. So the festival has grown, the symposium has grown, and it's nice to have that event on board. It's a really great fit for the festival.
Can you run us through some of the workshops?
We've got 3 days of workshops, and we're really excited because, again, we're bringing out 2 international speakers. And Stephen Wells from Melbourne, he specialises in sensory garden planting. So he works for the medical facilities in Australia and plants these amazing gardens where people can actually touch and smell and feel plants. And so it's a real sensory experience. And he's made a living out of this. He was the the Australian Gardener of the Year for 2012. And so he'll have a very fascinating workshop. Elaine Quattrey from Brisbane is an environmental artist. She does installations, some of them as big as 10 metres by 10 metres big, and she's coming over to do an installation that will take 4 days to complete. And as course of all the other fabulous speakers we've got, the MasterChef girls, Karina and Casey from Makatu, Joe McCarroll from New Zealand Gardener magazine, Ben Hoyle, who has competed at every Ellerslie flower show since in existence, a gold medal winner for New Zealand International Flower Shows. Francine Thomas, who's just come back from Dublin at the World Champs for floral art display. And the list goes on. It's 3 days of really exciting speakers.
There will be garden trails again. Now tell us about some of those gardens you're showcasing.
Yes, absolutely. It's the biggest garden trail we've had. There's 95 stops on the trail this time. 25% of the gardens are all new gardens as well, so brand new gardens for people who come to the festival every 2 years. They can actually spend 2 days of just seeing new gardens instead of the ones that have come back, and with some really fantastic return gardens that we always invite them to come back because they are just so spectacular, and first time visitors to the festival, it's new for them, and it's also great to go back and see the changes that some of these gardeners have done as well. If it wasn't for the gardeners, we wouldn't have a festival. The amount of work and blood, sweat and tears that they put into their gardens to get ready for the festival, we just want to send a huge thanks to them. They do an incredible job for us.
95 gardens in 7 days. That seems like a lot to get through.
It's a combination of art stops and gardens. Some of them are commercial stops, but 7 days to get around 95 stops. So yeah, if you take the whole week off and spend it in Tauranga and the Bay of Plenty, enjoy the great food and all the other attractions that we have here. But the art stops, they're exciting because we actually get to go into artist studios that you would never normally get to visit. So not only do you get to see gardeners and gardens, you get to visit these amazing artists who live and work out of the Bay of Plenty as well.
So where can we get tickets then?
Through Ticketek if you want to go online, but we've got just on 7 locations around the Bay of Plenty, and the first time in Matamata we have Meta Pharmacy are selling tickets for us. So go there, you'll pick up your program, your directory, your wristbands, and it's a sort of a one-stop pickup place. Otherwise, go through Ticketek and we'll post everything out to you.
Make sure you visit gardenandartfest.co.nz to find out how to purchase tickets. It's time to take a look at the weather at your place now, and it's been a wild, blustery day in the Waikato today, with winds of up to 100 kilometres in exposed places. Down to a low of 0 tonight in Hamilton, then tomorrow expect a fine Tuesday, cloud increasing in the afternoon with southwesterlies and a high of 15 degrees. Your overnight low is 9. Around the region, fine at first with cloud increasing from the afternoon. Fresh sou'westers. Paeroa 16 your high. Matamata 14 with a low of 10 in both places. Te Awamutu 15 and a low of 9. And Tokeroa 14 tomorrow with a low of 7 tomorrow night. Tauranga mainly fine with sou'westers and a high of 16 degrees, 9 your overnight low. And around the bay, mainly fine with a few showers about the eastern ranges, clearing in the morning. Sou'westerlies expected with Te Puke expecting a high of 15 degrees with 11 your overnight low tomorrow night. And that's Central News for today, Monday the 22nd of September 2014. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you join us on our Facebook page. Let us know of news in your community. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. I'll catch you back tomorrow night. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.